into recording mode. And thank you. Welcome everybody to our live webinar. The title for today webinar is A Different Approach to Enable Sustainable Change Beyond Problem Solving and Solution Creating. In order to make these webinars meaningful, I will need to do some basic errands. Please make sure that you put yourself on mute because the session is recorded. And during the presentation time, you are free to turn on your camera, but if you want to go off the camera, that is fine too. What we're going to do is that we're going to run down, we're going to go through a 30 minutes presentation to present to you the arguments for having a different approach to enable sustainable change. And then after that, we're going to have a Q&A where you make your comments, or you can ask questions to clarify certain concepts that you heard in today's presentation. So with much further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to turn off my camera because I'm going to look at my screen, so please excuse me. Okay. Oops. So I'm sure that all of you are here for one very good reason, and that is you are passionate about helping people to move forward in their life. You are passionate about helping people to experience change. So today, the main theme or the main keywords that you heard repeated a few times is this word called change. The world hates change, but yet this is the only thing that will bring us progress. And I like Bill Clinton quotation. He says that the price of doing the same old thing is far greater than the price of change. So we are going to talk about change. Now, the challenge about change is not, the question is not on your passion because you are committed. The questions that we need to talk about today is to consider the kind or the quality of change you are offering to the people that you're helping. I certainly believe that all of you want to be able to help people to have a change that is sustainable, not a temporary fix, but a sustainable one. And that's why we need to have a little look at this word called sustainable. When we talk about sustainable, basically, we want a change that is durable, change that is lasting, change that is not a temporal fix, change that will impact the very core of our being and brought forth new fruits. In order to answer these questions about how we can bring about a kind of change that is sustainable in nature, we need to ask ourselves, or we need to seriously consider, what kind of elements need to exist in order for this sustainability, the nature of sustainability, to exist in the way we are creating change. And with this in mind, I like to use a metaphor to help us to understand about these elements. So remember, we are looking at what are the elements that needs to be present in order for change to be sustainable. I'm very convinced that most of us here are unaware of this nature of elements. It is like looking at your face without a mirror. You know, you go through the day, you know your face is there. The world can see your face. The only person who cannot see your face is yourself. So that is basically how we are looking at this element. We know it is there, but somehow we are not conscious about these elements existing around us. It's very much like a blind man searching in a dark room for a black cat. Okay, so today we want to have a closer look at these elements that needs to be present in order for change to happen. Trust me, it is always there, but it is invisible to us. And we somehow seems to be paying attention to these elements. Let me begin the whole thesis by starting off with this simple quotation or this simple principle. Awareness is the first step towards change, and the second step is acceptance. Awareness is the first step towards change. The second step is acceptance. What you are aware of, you control. What you are not aware of controls you. Awareness is the first step towards change. When we look at this word awareness, basically, it is a thinking process. Therefore, we can conclude that the nature of these elements that will allow change to be sustainable has these thinking characteristics. So that is the first characteristic of this element. In order for change to exist, in order for change to be sustainable, the elements that need to be present is a thinking task. So it's not about us doing, it's about thinking. The elements that will impact change to create a sustainable effect is a thinking task. And it is worthwhile to take a look at Albert Einstein's quotation, Albert Einstein's statement. He says that the world, as we have created it, is the process of our thinking. What does it mean? What does he say here? It says the thing that we do stems out from our process of thinking. So it makes a lot of sense. Therefore, in order for change to be sustainable, what is the condition that needs to exist has to be something to do with thinking, how we are thinking about it. Okay? And Albert Einstein continued to say that it cannot change. It cannot be changed. That means the actions or the fruits of what we want to create as a result of our change will not be there if the thinking process is not modified. So the first characteristics that we are talking about is basically a thinking characteristics. Now, if it is a thinking characteristics, then it might be interesting for us to take a look. What kind of thinking are we talking about here? When we attempt to change something, or when we try to do something to create a change, it actually triggers some sort of a thinking process. And that thinking process is what we call the decision-making mechanisms. The kind of actions that we are embarking on are basically two things. We either try to problem solve it, or we try to solution create it. These are the two kinds of actions that often we do to create the kind of change. So for these two actions, problem solving, solution creating, it triggers a kind of thinking process that will lead us into some form of a decision making before we take some particular action steps. So it might be interesting to take a look at what kind of thinking process is being triggered when we try to do problem solving and solution creating. Let's take a look at the action itself, problem solving. When someone tries to problem solve, basically what are they trying to do? They try to get rid of something that they do not want. When someone tries to do solution creating, they basically try to replace what we do not want with a better one. So we either try to get rid or we try to replace. So let's take a look at what kind of thinking process goes behind when we try to get rid or when we try to replace something. Basically, four things happens at the back of our mind when we are doing either problem solving or solution creating. What are these four things that is happening at the back of our mind? Now, remember how I started off this conversation. I started off by stating that the element that is needed to create sustainable change is often invisible to us. It's like you looking at yourself without a mirror. It is always there, but we are just not aware of it. Okay, so what are these four things, four processes that happens at the back of our mind when we try to problem solve or solution creating? Number one, we try to define the problem. Number two, we generate alternative. Number three, we evaluate and select the alternative. And the last one is we implement the course of actions that we want to take. So these are the four processes that goes behind our mind in the decision-making mechanism. Now, take a look when we try to define the problem. How do people usually behave when they make an attempt to define the problems? They will first ask, what's the cause of the problem? They will try to also understand what causes it. They will also try to label what is it they are describing as the cause of the problem. So this is what goes behind at the back of our mind. Once we are able to once we are able to define the problem, what do we do next? We start to generate a list of alternatives to replace it, to replace the condition that causes the problem. When we are generating the various alternatives, we will start to engage in a process of analytical evaluations, assessing the plus, the minus, the strength, the weakness, the benefit, and the loss. So that is what goes behind when we try to do evaluating in the attempt to pick the best options. And then the rest of it is us simply implementing it. As we take a look at these four different processes that goes behind problem solving and solution creating, you will understand that the mental capacity to do that is simply logic and interpretation. So the ability to understand what's the goal of the problem and what kind of metrics needs to apply represents the key to problem solving and solution creating. And in a nutshell, what kind of thinking process is being triggered is what we call critical thinking. Critical thinking is the primary thinking process that goes behind problem solving and solution creating. The critical thinking process is a linear and an outcome driven process. It started off often with a problem statement and then end off with a solution. So in solving the problem, we applied logic, reasons, and try to make connection between the logic in order to arrive at a solution. Now, that is where we get when things becomes a little bit interesting. We want to examine how disempowering. We are not saying whether it's bad or is it wrong. We want to consider in the context of creating change in this sphere of personal development, how disempowering is problem solving and solution creating. Such the approach to help people to move forward in their life. To answer these questions, we need to fundamentally start from this point. That is that our beliefs are driven by the culture we live in. Now, we live in a culture, I mean, now it's 21st century. We live in this 21st century that basically measure progress by scientific and technological improvements. The progress that we make is about the electronic possibility of the computer. Okay, with this electronic evolution, trust me, our notions of time, space, and distance shift. Just like what happens right now and this very moment, we are all connected in this electronic platform that joins people all the way from Kenya to New Zealand. Okay, the distance from anywhere in the world is right now measured by the inch between me and my computer. Okay, so this is a new world that we are living in. And another interesting thing to take a look about this new culture is that we are constantly on the 24/7. Because of the electronic evolutions, our mind are constantly connected somewhere. Okay, so this is the world that we live in. And whatever belief systems that we embrace today comes out from this culture. So, what kind of belief system has been created in us that we become so inevitable, unaware of? For the last century, for this period of time, for the last decade, maybe for the last 20 years, our understanding of what it meant to human being is predominantly dominated by this focus to be more effective. Faster and faster and faster. And it's no surprise why, you know, the bookshelves or even the bookstores are filled with advice and wisdoms on what? On how to do anything, how to do about anything on this planet Earth. From how to fix a car, to fix a computer, do your gardening, cooking, even to maintaining a relationship. It is filled with how to, how to, how to. And that's why in our day-to-day conversations, we often hear people say things in helping people to change. We often hear people asking questions like, what do you need to do? What options is available? What can you do differently? What is standing in your way? These questions comes out from the environment where we live in. We are fundamentally interested with one big questions. And what is that big questions? That big question is what works? Okay, our obsessions, our compulsive obsessions with this word, what works, directs our attentions to what to do and how to do. And there is nothing wrong with that. But we need to be aware of that the more we are driven towards driven towards this question, what works, it creates a vacuum for these most important questions. And what is this most important question? And this question is, what is the point? Why are we doing what we are doing. Now, these two questions, what works and what is the point, are two very different questions. When our mind is fixed on what works, basically we are putting on a problem solving, a solution creating orientations. It is like an engineer version of it is like an engineer version where it sees life as a problem to be worked on. And how do we approach change? Therefore, I mean, with this vision and engineer vision, how we see change is translated into a very predictable a set of behavior pattern, like I need to collect data. I need to analyze the data. And when I finish my analysis, I need to have an answer. And this answer must be something tangible and concrete, because we live in a world that demands results, and we are expected to be effective in getting results. Now, that's where I need to pause you and think, step back and see it as a big picture. What kind of ripple effect are we creating? We are feeding the systems that eventually we are feeding a systems that will eventually cripple our own sense of greatness. So listen very carefully with how I'm going to put the argument forward. We know that sustainable change comes when people internalize what is new. However, this is not what most people have in their mind. They want the answer now. Although they agree with you in theory that we need to internalize it, but in practice, what people is expecting when they come to make a change, they want a turnkey solution. Everything to be ready-made, handed over. All it takes for me to do is activate it. They want a turnkey solution. It is similar to when we are not feeling well. We went to see a doctor, we get a prescriptions, we swallow the pill, and then we want to go on with life. Now, it's better to eat the pill. That is what we are trying to say. Because when the doctor tells us that we need to change our diet, we need to adjust our lifestyle, and the most common one is you need to exercise. But this is not what we want to hear. We rather go and take the pill. That's the ripple effect that we are creating as a result when we ask people, when we try to change people by getting them to focus on problem solving and solution creating. We're in fact reinforcing their need to want to have an answer now. And the system keep on repeating itself in such a way it becomes that we are feeding a system that will eventually cripple us in terms of us doing something that is beyond problem solving and solution creating. What works? This question, what works and what to do, create an expectation that give me a solution that has the least discomfort. And if we give into this temptation, we run into a risk of not serving the people that we want to help them. What is hard for people to realize is that the long-term solutions that change provides require some rethinking and rearranging the way we work. This different approach we are offering in today's session is a shift from a diagnostic approach to a discovery approach. The way that we want to create change is not a different way of doing that, instead of solution creating or problem solving, is to see the whole process as a discovery journey. The model that we are offering here is to guide people through a journey of seeking, understanding, where we can engage them more in their reflective thinking and drawing out their insights and learning. So far, this is a theory that we're presenting, and I'm going to draw your attention to a real life case study that happens this morning at 1 o'clock. With this is the Facebook. I'm so sorry, I'm guilty of that also. This is a Facebook interaction with one of our graduates. We had a Facebook community where all our graduates are connected, and one of our graduates posed a questions in the Facebook, and she wanted to have some feedback. And let's take a look at that case study so that we can put everything together in some way, in a very concrete manner, for you to understand the difference between solution creating, problem solving, and helping people to discover. Okay, so let's go in and take a look. In order to protect I removed the name of these students to to honor the code of confidentiality. Okay, so let's take a look at what this student's request is as she posts it into the Facebook. Okay, so let me just read out. He said, "Hello, tribe," which is basically our community group. Referring to everyone that is connected to us, that is connected in this community. So I have a question, and I would super love your feedback. So she began to state a problem that she faced in one of her coaching conversation with a client. So the problem situation she faced with is that the client constantly answer the question with this statement: "I don't know." So she tried everything that she has learned in the class. For example, all these questions that we taught, and somehow the coaching conversation still gets stuck. And they went round and round in the conversation for almost 2 hours. And she said, I felt like I want to cry because I just don't know what to do. The client is stuck, and the clients keep saying, "I don't know." So that's the problem she faced. That's the challenge that she faced. Now let's take a look. What is her request? She says, "I would love to get your feedback." And there was a part there when she said that she wants to get feedback on what she can do. Look very carefully here. "I don't know what to do." So she wants a feedback that will allow her to know what she needs to do, what to do, what to do, what to do. That's the primary message that is going at the back of this student's mind. What to do, what to do, what to do. Somebody please tell me what to do, or how can I do it? That's the message. I'm just amplify it so that you can get the dynamics behind what goes behind people's mind when people are stuck with a problem. And right now, she is stuck with a problem, but she also tried to help a client. So her philosophy is about what to do. Now, let's see how I manage this request on what to do. So remember, her feedback that she wants is on what to do. Typically, if I will show you the feedback other students responded to her, they are very kind. They offer her a list of best practice that is drawn from their experience. But typically, this is how normally a person will respond, because she asks for her request is very straightforward. Tell me what to do. So because her problem is I don't know what to do. So the way we respond to help her is to let her to provide a list of best practice so that she can walk away with something to do. Okay, so that is the standard response most people will give. Now, if we're going to use a different approach to help people to change, in this case, for her to be able to go above this problem situation, how does a process of discovery looks different from solution creating or problem solving here? This is my response to her. I said, well, typically, okay, the most easier way to tackle this challenge, which is basically this problem that this student's coach is facing, is to find a resolution. Now, take a look at what time. It's only 14 hours away from where we are today, okay, that this screenshot is taken. So I say, is to find a resolution, and that is what to do or how to do. So that's the typical response. But I pose a questions to these students. I say, instead, I would like to approach this challenge from another perspective. What can this experience, that means this particular situation that she's going through, when her clients say, I don't know, teach me anything about coaching and me being a coach? And then the students reply, hey, I like that. And I start to contemplate. Wow, can you see the word that she used? Contemplating. Contemplating is a thinking word. It's not a action word. It's a thinking word. She started to think. She stopped trying to figure out what to do to resolve the situations, the challenges. She's starting to think. Contemplating is not a logical word. It doesn't use logic. Contemplating requires us to be connected to some sort of, no, to be connected, to find connections. So it goes beyond logic and reason here. Later on, I continue on to support her. In the same split second, I said, my invitation for you is, what did you discover about yourself as a coach? And upon reflection on what has happened in this conversation, that means the conversation going around for 2 hours, what insight can you gain from this experience? So that's my invitation for her to invite the kind of change that will support her to tackle these challenges. And let's see what happens after that. She responded immediately by saying, I really appreciate the invitation. I'm not sure why I haven't invited myself to do the same thing. Remember how I started off the conversation, that the element that supports the conditioned is unaware to most of us. So he said, I'm surprised. Why is it that I've not invited myself to do that? Whereas what she's trying to say is, why am I so hung up in trying to ask what to do when in fact I can actually reflect and draw out from that experience? And then she said something very interesting. I'm not sure, because overall I felt I did a bad job. I would think about it. When I read this statement, what stands out for me is I felt that I did a poor job. So immediately I replied back to her. I said, I did a poor job. It's what stands in your way of reinventing a new possibility. And that's why she cannot understand why she did not invite herself to reflect. Because right now right in front of her is this word called I did a poor job. So That is what's standing in front of her to reinvent. Because she's so busy trying to solve it, that she forgot that there is another word called reinventing. And I invite her again, this time very seriously. If you have not done a poor job, and instead you are doing what is possible within your ability, that means that 2 hours of going around in the circle, it is what you are able to do within your ability. I'm wondering, with this new lens, what learning can be drawn out from this experience? Wow, this really hit hard on her. And let's take a look at what she did, what happens to her when she when she interacted with this invitation. She say, okay, Toki, which means wow. Okay, in a modified version. Here, here is the experience. Let me remove something. I can't read it. Okay, the experience of reframe, which feels much better. What did I discover about myself? Considering I felt like crying, I discovered that I have a deep caring for my client. Whoa, things is starting to shift to a brighter side of the world. Instead of blaming herself and, I mean, beating herself, she started to acknowledge what works for her. And this is really important to me. She didn't lose her vision. She regained back her vision. That is the most important things. If you the what is worse than being blind is that you don't have a vision. You are not connected to what is fundamentally important to you. Here at this very moment, she is connected. She is aligned to her very core. This is really important to me. I learned that I have already developed my relationship and observation with fear. No, it's kind of like a tango. And she went around talking about what she has able to accomplish in her training. As she walk away with powerful insight, what insight can I gain from this experience? And she began to learn by herself that, yeah, maybe the clients is like this and what she needs is stuff like. So she starts to learn by herself what she can take away from her own experience. And that is what I meant by a different approach. Instead of problem solving and solution creating, means telling her or sharing with her a list of best practice that works for us. Instead of doing that, I take her on a journey of discovery, drawing on her own reflections, pulling out her insight, and translate that into an learning, a principle. And this is where people internalize the learning. What she's experiencing right now is not a logical thinking or critical thinking. It's a reflective thinking. And that is how we can create change that is deep and sustainable. Wow, so awful lots of stuff that I managed to pull through in this just couple of seconds. I mean, this 30 minutes. Let me quickly do a sum up, a final thought to wrap up the thesis that I'm proposing here. When we entertain the thought on what works too frequently and ask how to do something too quickly, it expresses our biases for what is practical, concrete, and immediately useful. It always assumes that there is an answer out there and we don't know the answer. That means the point of reference is outside of you. And this itself becomes an antithesis towards realizing our human's potential. For you to chew upon, reflect upon, as we bring this discussion to an end here, with you raising your thoughts, clarifications, and comments. Whew, I've been doing the talking for the last 40 minutes, and right now I would like to pass the time, open up to the forum, to everyone here to ask what's your insight based on all that has been shared.
So I can just start because
Go
in
ahead,
marriage,
Marian.
um, what stood out for me was, and I noted it down right away because it was so simple but so dynamic. When you said in the beginning, what we are aware of, we can control.
Control.
What we are not aware of controls us. It was that
Yes.
how you said it.
Yes.
So it's simple, but it says a lot. So
Precisely. And awareness, that's really emphasized about change has to do with the thinking process. It's not about what we are capable of analyzing. It's what are we conscious about? What is it that is going through at the back of our mind? What's the assumption that we are making? What's the belief here? And often than not, we are not aware of all these things. We just allow it to go past our mind because today in this electronic world, everything has to be fast. And if we keep on asking people what to do, how to do, what to do, how to do, the more we are reinforcing the distance to be aware of things that is going at the back of our mind. We cannot see our thoughts. That's the challenge. But it doesn't mean our thought doesn't exist. And what if those thoughts are thoughts like what this student is going through, a blame that she doesn't even aware of, that she's actually blaming herself. And that is what's standing in her way of reinventing a new possibility. She's going backward and say, what can I solve the problem? So she's literally going backward, not forward. Thank you, Marian, for bringing that up. What we are aware of, we control. What we are not aware of controls us. Yes, Kara, you are absolutely right. We all have blind spots. We all have blind sight, the peripheral visions. We are limited in the way we see things. And that's why it talks about really the need to be more mindful, to be more present. And when we are engaged in this kind of mind, it's very different from an analytical mind where we are trying to resolve and solve. That is what awareness is. And awareness is really the elements that needs to be involved, to be present in order for the change to have a greater impact.
Ben,
Okay.
Ben, this is Krishna.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, just a comment on myself. I realized that there is always this tendency to continue to be in this diagnostic stage, always consciously and unconsciously. But really getting into the groove of discovery is really a new journey. So,
Yes.
how do we really get into that groove? I guess that.
How do we get into it? Again, we start the whole system again of how to.
I don't
So,
mean I'm a, that
uh,
that comes to my mind.
yeah. So that's why we
That,
need to replace, my invitation for everybody, is to replace the word how with what. What refusal are you postponing? The moment
mm,
when we are quick to answer how, that is something that we are actually saying no to and that we're not willing to acknowledge it.
mm.
Okay, do you see that?
Yeah.
So that's why the how to is the path of least resistance. The more we do that, the more it becomes easier for us to escape. And then it reduces humanity to no more but just a robot.
Mm,
That we respond to some certain kind of coding.
mm.
We stop being conscious, and that is what AI cannot. I mean, at least at this point of time, artificial intelligence cannot replace human being because they don't have a conscious state of mind, consciousness. That's the power. Being conscious, aware of what is happening to me in terms of my thinking. The more people get in touch to that conscious state of mind, the change that is involved will be much more deeper, because it's no longer about a logic. We are not trying to resolve or replace. We are trying to connect. And that's a journey whereby we need to reprogram our language. As I started off with that primary thesis, that the belief that we have is driven by the culture we live in. And that's why we need to, in order for for us to offer a change that is sustainable to another human being, we therefore have to help them to replace a how to a what.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
Yep. Mm.
Carol had raised a very interesting question. I mean, raised a very good comment. It says that this how-to approach is partly related to the culture in Singapore. Well, I wouldn't say just restrict to Singapore, but in fact to all developed countries where we are driven towards effectiveness. We measure ourselves by, the progress, the results, how effective we are. Don't forget, that comes from the previous culture, the industrial age. And that's where our management concepts are born. In the industrial age, where it is about system workflow, where things are linear. Because in industrial age, think about it, in factories, it's a linear process. Everything goes through a system. So that's how, change takes a while to mature. But once it's mature, it accelerated. And we are the recipient of that philosophy. And that philosophy ingrained into our systems, resulting in a kind of behavior pattern. So in order to undo that process, we had to do it in this generation so that we reshape a culture through our language. And it is a reality. It's not a dream. Look at organizations like Google. They managed to create what we call a learning culture, where they stop actually fixing and resolving things, but they are in the space of reinvention. In other words, institutional setup causes us to be linear, whereas an entrepreneurial spirit allows us to be innovative. Entrepreneurs don't solve problems. Do you believe it? Leaders don't solve problems. Leaders make things happen because they have an entrepreneurial spirit inside them. An entrepreneurial mindset is always about reinventing. They are not interested in solving the problem or replacing it with something. They are always looking for what is out there that is still not exist yet where I can create. That's the mindset of entrepreneur. And that is what humanity needs to be. Because if you agree with Maslow theory, the highest need of all is not about basic need of survival, or because when we are driven by effectiveness and result, we are reducing ourselves to the lowest possible need. But we need to realize that humanity greatness is at the higher need of self-actualization, and it begins here. An entrepreneurial mindset, an entrepreneurial spirit, that we are here to make things happen. And if the more we embrace such mindset, trust me, change is going to be very powerful here, because it does not just affect the external system, it affects the internal configuration of what it means to be human being. Woo, I'm so excited about this and I talk about it. Because we are all in this space of helping humans' potential. And what I believe is that the problem-solving approach and the solution creating approach is good if you're dealing with a non-living things. But when we're dealing with a living things, then we need to tap onto the greatest gift that is given to us, that is our ability to think, not through logical. Oh,
Ben,
great.
I've got a question.
Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, this fast-paced world of ours, business leaders are wanting quick fixes, fast solutions. But in your experience, business leaders are enjoying the time for reflective thinking and the space to, yeah.
You got it there. You got it there. That's why that's why high potential executive, in order for them to move on to assume a higher role of being a leader, not a manager. A manager always get results, but a leader don't get results. Are you sure leaders don't get results? No, they create results. Managers are busy getting the results. But leader, no, leader learns. The leader mindset are very different mindset. And those who are really successful leaders, you can see one characteristics in them. They are not just problem solving. They got a very different side of thinking, big picture thinking, creative thinking, resourceful thinking, out of the box thinking. It's not about solving something. Okay. Thank you for bringing that. A manager and a leader mindset are fundamentally very different. And that really show insights to what kind of thinking process. Yes, visionary. They see things, they reinvent. It's a very different processes altogether. And that's,
Ben,
go ahead.
Is awareness purely about thinking? Isn't it also about like feeling as well?
You're absolutely right. And the whole space of awareness is about consciousness. In consciousness state, we can be conscious about the way we think. We can be conscious about the way we do things. We can also be conscious about the way we feel about things, or we call that a emotional experience.
So Ben,
Yes,
are,
go
are
ahead,
we are
Lana.
we are we talking about giving enough space and room in a coaching session for a client to have that inner awareness come up and actually go through a paradigm shift?
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's about us preparing the mind. It's like we plowing the soil. So the preparation stage is like the soil being plowed. When the soil is being plowed, then whatever that you insert in or whatever that you seed will have the possibility or the chance to take root. So that's why in a coaching conversations, the space that we create in the awareness conversation is fundamentally very different from a problem solving conversation, like a team meeting where we sit down and say, let's brainstorm. But often or not, we're not brainstorming, we're just killing an ideas because we have a lot of judgment, a lot of analytical process coming in. I mean, I'm not against brainstorming. That if you do it properly, there is a room for that. Once you are able to see what is fundamentally at the core, then we germinate ideas. Okay, so it's a very different context that we're talking about. I'm really talking about a space where awareness can emerge, because change, the first step towards change is awareness. And the awareness is really about a kind of thinking that goes at the back of our mind. Whoa, it's almost 1 hour here. Let's just have one more questions. Or someone would like to, yes, coaching
Ben,
culture. Oh, go ahead. Who's that? Sorry.
Hi, this is Lama. Hi.
Lama, go ahead, Lama.
Yeah. Ben, it's not a question. It's actually, it's a comment. You just gave me room to think about something that is very important. It's like, even us as coaches, we are, we're living in this society, and we are led by this being effective, and we want to be productive. And I was just thinking about, how are we assessing ourselves as coaches? we are driven also. We need the results. So even this is where we need to take a break, even give ourselves a break, because even us, we are judging ourselves in the same manner. We need results, and we need to see that something happened, and we're not allowing for spaces.
Precisely.
Right?
You're absolutely
we're
right.
doing the same with
At what we breed as a result of our effectiveness is a need for data and predictability. I need to
Yes.
know. If I don't
Exactly.
know, I'm in danger. I need to be
Yeah,
in
and how will I
control.
know? Am I good enough? Did
And
I do a good
when
job?
we embrace that mindset, that's where that's ITE is the end. Because there is no space for curiosity.
Yes.
You see the point?
Even the clients, they are driven by, they need to see
Precisely.
results.
Precisely.
We need to see whether, okay, they're getting coached, what are the results? Even I was thinking like a few days before, should I have a kind of assessment on how to assess the coaching process and whether I was good enough, or to give to the clients to assess their progress? Even I was going to solutioning and like
precisely
doing the
and
same
we
thing.
beat ourselves, we blame ourselves if we don't hit the benchmark, and that robs away the opportunity to learn.
This is true.
We're evaluating, we're assessing. That's not learning. That is improving something, which means that we are at where we are, because to improve means we are not that at the benchmark. We're just simply hitting the benchmark. We are not creating.
That's true.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that insight, Lama. Very thank you. Well, I hope that you take away something from today's webinar. It's just a way for us to advocate a different approach to honor this calling, to help another human being to awaken to their greatness. And we certainly wish that all of us were able to acquire those kind of skills that truly heighten the awareness and deepen the learning. And to end off today, I'm sure that there are a lot of there are guests here who might not have completed any training with us, and you might be a little bit curious as to, okay, it sounds a good concept, and I walk away with some good stuff. Where can I go from here? It's my honor to present to you our coaching approach called the transformative coaching, enable change, integrating the science of emotional intelligence and positive psychology. This is an ICF approved coach training program that encapsulates a framework that allowed us to heighten the awareness and deepen the learning. And I would like to use this opportunity to present a small video clip. Okay. Oops. Are you able to see the screen of the video clip? Let me just do that. Stop for a while and capture the right screen. And here it goes. Allow me to play this video to you. It's a 3-minute video that gives you a pretty good introduction.
As you pursue coach training, you want a program with high standard, proven methodology, and worldwide recognition. Approved by the International Coach Federation, our transformative coaching training offers a fresh, leading-edge approach to enable authentic change.
What I like most about Coach Masters Academy is its vision of inspiring positive change.
To empower every student to be a change agent in the society, in the industry, in the community.
Coach Masters Academy is indisputably at the forefront of transformative coaching, with over 400 coaches each year across the globe completing their training. At Coach Masters Academy, you can be confident of receiving the highest standard of coach training drawn from our proven instructional design and our many years in the field.
We combine concept together with practices, and we deliver it in an interactive and fun way. The global exposure is what allowed them to learn, and that really enriched their experience.
We have the confidence that our coaches are trained and able to conduct themselves professionally and ethically to the standards that's expected by the client.
CMA emphasizes on coaching around the client, not only coaching around the situation that client is facing.
It's an evocative process that integrates emotional intelligence and positive psychology.
I see real results when people are able to shift the way of thinking, and transformative coaching allows that to happen in a very organic way.
I really believe that the transformative way of coaching enables sustainable change in our clients.
The rigor that Coach Masters Academy gives is, I think, by far the best among all the other various coach training schools that are there.
What keeps me committed to CMA is the continuous growth among our students and among our peers.
So with this two-way support, our coaches receive feedbacks from their peers and a pool of experienced coach supervisors.
Coaching is an art, and to learn an art well, you need three things: a great teacher, a great coaching methodology, and lots of practice. Coach Masters Academy has all these three things and a lot more.
Here at Coach Masters Academy, your success as a coach in supporting your clients to realize their goals is our success. It is our vision to empower you to be a positive change agent with the transformational tool of coaching. Accelerate your coaching competencies to enable change that is deep and sustainable. Train with us today at Coach Masters Academy.
Great, thank you. And that's bringing us to the end of today's webinar. And I hope you take back with you something that is useful. Share that with your friends. Go around and spread the good news. I look forward to continue this discussion with you via the email. You can always reach out to me via the email form. So thank you very much. See you guys. Bye.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.